Morning everyone, I hope you enjoy today. I'm going to do some stuff on squaring, and I'm not talking about squares, I'm talking about squares like 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared. And there's some really cool patterns here and some cool tricks that I'll show you at the end. I hope you enjoy. Have a lovely weekend.
As I said earlier, we're going to be looking at the magic of squaring. We're not looking at the square as you can see on the screen. We're actually talking about squared numbers. So I'm going to draw one here. So we've got 1 squared, which is the same as saying 1 times 1. And I've circled the square there. That's called an indice or an order, depending whether you're looking at BODMAS or BIDMAS. Anyway, so 1 squared, nice and easy. 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 squared. It's 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. See if you can start to spot a pattern as well whilst I'm doing this. And if you look on the right hand side, I'm drawing them in dots, and you can see they form squares. Surprise, surprise. 3 squared. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And if you look, the dots are starting to form. And for those of you who are ahead of me, you can start to see if you can spot a pattern between the answers. So 1, 4, 9. See if you can spot a pattern. Look at the differences. Let's have a look at 4 squared. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. And I'm trying my best here to draw an accurate square, but I'm starting to fail. And if you look now, have a look at, see if you can work out the difference. So, difference between 1 and 4, what's the difference? Difference between 4 and 9, what's the difference? Difference between 9 and 16. And see if you can work out 5 squared without doing 5 times 5. And you'll start to notice the pattern. So 1 to 4 is plus 3. 4 to 9 is plus 5. 9 to 16 is plus 7. And you've probably spotted it's going up in 2s now. So the next one, 7 plus 2, is plus 9, so it's 25. Anyway. And now have a go at just finding out the rest of the square numbers on your own. At the end of this, I'm going to show you a trick where you can multiply 2-digit square numbers in your head and beat any calculator. It's quite a nice trick, so feel free to skip to the end if you want to. But I'm also going to show you one other pattern involving squared numbers in a second. And I'm just putting the answers up here for you. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 squared equals 64. 9 squared is 81. And 10 squared is 100. What you notice is put them all together in a line, and I'm underlining the ones. So I've got 1, 4, 9, 6, and 6, 9, 4, 1. And you might start to notice a pattern if you look at the numbers. All the ones seem to follow a pattern. 5's always end in 5, so that makes it easy. It's like almost a halfway line. And give you a second to see if you can spot it. I've put them on the sheet here to make it easy, but look, we're also going to work out 11 squared. You may notice 1 squared ended in 1. Oh, 11 squared is 121. 12 squared, well, I'm going to guess it's going to end in 4 because 2 squared ended in 4 and 12 squared's got a 2 in its ones column. Oh, surprise, surprise, 144. 13 squared, or 3 squared was 9. So I'm going to guess it's going to end in 9. Oh, surprise, surprise, it does, 169. Have a go and see if you can work out the rest and see if I'm correct. So 14 squared, well, you know it's going to end in a 6. 15 squared is going to end in a 5. 16 squared is going to end in a 6 because the 1's a 6. If you look, it goes 1, 4, 9, 6, it gets to 5, then it goes backwards, 6, 9, 4, 1, 0. And 20 times 20 is 400. See if you can work out the missing ones on your own, and see if my pattern's correct. And after this, I'm going to show you a very quick way of doing multiplying by your 5s. So you can do any 5 squared. So you know 5 squared is 25. 15 squared, well, let's work it out very quickly on account. 15 times 15 is 225. Oh look, it ends in 25 again. Let's think, do you reckon 25 times 25 might end 25? It does. So you notice that when you multiply it, you square a number that has a 5 in it. Always ends in a 25. So that makes our life relatively easy. So let's have a look how we can do this in our head. So 35 squared is going to end in 25, we know that. And what we do now is we need to fill in the missing digits. Just to remind you, it's the same as 35 times 5. So let's take our 3 and we will do 3 times 4. Now, to do that, you take the 3 and from the tens digit and you just add 1 onto it and then do 3 times 4. Let's just show you another example. So we've got 45 squared here. We know it's going to end in 25. So we're going to take the 4 in a second. And we're going to do 4 times, now what's 4 plus 1? It's 5. 4 times 1, sorry, 4 times 5. So remember I've just done 4 plus 1. So you just take the tens number and add a 1 to it. It is 20. Oh, surprise, surprise, the answer is 2025. So all I did, remember, is just take the tens, which is 4, plus a 1 onto it, and did 4 times 5. Let's do another one, 55 squared. We know it's going to end in 25 because when you square a number ending in 5, it always ends in 25. So let's think 5 times 5 plus 1. So that's 5 times 6, which is 30. And surprise, surprise, the answer is 3025. And let's look at the final one, 65 squared. We know it's going to end in 25. 6 times 6 plus the 1. So that's 6 times 7. So 6 times 7 is equal to 42. And that gives the answer 4,225. Remember, what you're doing is taking the tens and adding 1 onto it. So this time it's going to, you know, it's going to end in a 25. Do 7 times 7 plus 1, which is 7 times 8, which will give you the missing one. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a bit of a trial using Active Inspire.